What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and how you feeling? You ready to get your thinking cap on? The moon's in Aquarius. This is a great time for really just thinking about that long-term plan. I really think of Aquarius as the visionaries, holding that. If you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand with Aquarius. And we're going to get all of that today, because this is some pretty cool energy I think we got here. But before we jump into that, if you're new here, my name is Justin. You know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and who doesn't love that? But this is also a place for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placements. Sun, moon rising, maybe Saturn, wherever. This one's for you. But we all have moon placements. We all just benefit from syncing up with the moon, know where it's at, knowing what we're feeling, and that moon placement rules your Cancer house. So everyone benefits from this. And I do tarot card spreads based on that lovely luminary, the good old moon. Man, I was listening to something last night and I fell asleep in the chair. And then when I woke up, the moon was there, and I was just like, oh. It's like, Luna, what's going on here? It was a treat. And I'll talk about what sign it's in, what phase it's in, and when it's going void. Of course, it's all damn lunar shenanigans. The moon through a telescope is something else. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope. Now, let's jump into it, because we got some pretty cool energy I think with this Aquarius thing that's going on here. And let's go ahead and get into the lunar shenanigans. I'll switch over to the chart here, but depending on when you're watching this, happy Saturn day, by the way. Hope you're getting things done. But depending on when you're watching this, the moon is entering into Taurus, into Aquarius pretty early. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Such a visionary. But on the 14th of June, the moon enters into Aquarius at about 4 a.m. and that's going to be Pacific time, and we're in a waning gibbous phase. And let me get my handy dandy drawer here. But here's the moon hanging out at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And this is going to be some interesting conversation that I think the moon is having. We start off with some collaborative work here, maybe a little bit of tension of differentiating of maybe opinions. We find some epiphanies, and then we kind of check the results here. I'll explain why I get all that in a moment. But when you're just talking about the moon and Aquarius in general, this is where the feelings kind of get more under the sphere of the mental. It's that interesting combination, I think, the moon and an air sign, because when you talk about Aquarius, they are traditionally ruled by Saturn. And they're the fixed air sign. They're active or yang in nature. And like I said, like Aquarius energy, I think, has a way of really just seeing the vision, the great, the long-term view. I think that's something that them and even like Sagittarius kind of share in common there. That in their end, meaning they have that relationship by sextile. But I think that there's something with Aquarius that they really can not just see the vision, but again, they hold it in their head. They're like the human vision boards in a sense. But that's something too, I think, with Aquarius is paying attention to what your mind has been fixated on. Because it's not just the positives. That would just be, if we were all doing that, that's the easy, but it's the work that it takes to get to those visions as well. And sometimes we can have some doubts, when we're getting to that, because again, there is that Saturnian influence on there. We need to have that discipline. We need to have that focus, that drive. And so there are going to be times where, life tests us a bit, where, it's, do you really, is that vision with all of these challenges that may come in the way of the patience, for the time that it's going to take? Do you still believe in this vision? And then the head gets into this thing, the feelings get into it, then it becomes a sort of weird soup. So this can be a really great time to, if you've been feeling maybe a lot of like anxieties, maybe you've been feeling a lot of mental energy, finding ways to get that out, whether it be through talking, through journaling, through even doing like some sort of like video thing where you just kind of anything to get that mental energy out. I think when things sit into the mind too long, it drives you crazy, and you have to have something to like. I like to think of it honestly as like just emptying a trash can. You just accumulate so much clutter, and you have to eventually it's going to overflow. And so you got to take care of the mind. I think, but especially with Aquarius, just because they can hold those thoughts for so long. But when we're going through just kind of just looking at the conversation that the moon's having, First is going to start off here with a pretty harmonious sextile with Saturn here, who's, it's in its fall right now, but this could be where maybe you're finding any sort of like challenges, any sort of responsibilities, and maybe you can find, so the sextiles can create this sort of like collaborative opportunities, but you have to take the initiative. So this could be maybe if you need some help around the house, this could be maybe a neighbor can help you, a relative can help you, a friend can help you, and where it's not a fun task, maybe we can, we got food that's going to be there afterwards, or just being in good company, good conversation can help. Maybe some work go along there, can kind of help you find some extra motivation. That's how one way that I could see how this Saturn energy could start off here. But it's one that you would have to initiate. Maybe you ask for some kind of help, and that might be a challenge maybe there, because the next conversation that the moon has is a square with Venus, but it's still Venus. She's a lesser, or it's a lesser benefic. But Venus, it's Venus in its home sign of Taurus. And I think that Venus here, where maybe there might be some conflicting feelings in what you're doing or whatever. Again, a relationship can maybe help you ground whatever challenges that you're having. If you've been feeling a bit of tension, maybe talking with someone who can help you come from a practical approach from whatever thing that you might be dealing with at this period of time here. Because even when it's a harsh aspect, because a square can bring like tension or challenges and needing to take actions on those things where there's maybe stagnation or things like that. And again, even though it's maybe a tough aspect, again, it's with Venus. And all that Venus is trying to do is to bring harmony, to get some kind of creative thinking that's going to be happening, creating some solutions and things like that, and forging those relationships with those who can, and asking for help whenever you may need that. And then kind of later on, the moon takes a slight left turn and hits the ascendant. But then we'll talk with the sun, and forms a nice trine. And this could be where maybe you're just like calling on other people's natural gifts. You might do, the trines are ease and flow and luck and things. So maybe someone gives you that kind of aha moment, or just something really kind of clicks at this period of time. Maybe you happen to see a billboard or listen to something, and it just gives you this idea for, again, whatever challenge that you may be taking, or at least point you in the right direction. And then lastly, I'm going to erase this. And then lastly, the moon will have a conversation with Mars. So it's kind of interesting that it starts off with a kind of like a little harmony with the greater malefic Saturn, but ends on a kind of a tougher one with the lesser malefic Mars. And the one thing that I could see maybe this, because an opposition is where two energies they're opposing signs, so they're trying to reconcile the two energies. So this could be where you've gotten an opinion, you've gotten some advice, but now you're just trying to figure out, like, how do I do this thing based off with the tools that I have? How do I bring those themes together? So this could be, for example, let's use this chart. If this was going on, between let's say you were getting aspects like that, and this was happening between your 9th and your 3rd house, maybe there's something that you're wanting to learn, but maybe a formal education, like going to like an institution, may not be on the table, but maybe we can find some sort of like courses, or maybe something a little bit, or maybe some books, maybe something along those lines, different resources in order to make that education kind of happen there, at least get you somewhat primed while you're saving up for maybe this next big move that you want to do. Or maybe there's something between like where you're growing up and how you've done things, and you've learned some new ways of doing some things, learn some new beliefs outside of your neighborhood, and you're trying to reconcile those two worlds into your everyday. So that would be just like some ways that an opposition could potentially show up. It can be, again, a little bit of, it can feel just like, and like the word says, it can feel like there's this opposing energy, this just like feeling kind of like a tug of war sort of thing, this kind of back and forth. But if you can find that happy medium, I think that's a good way of working with the oppositions. But that's basically all the conversations that the moon's going to have there. It's going to be overall a pretty, I think it's a pretty mixed bag of energies that we're going to end. A pretty standard maybe kind of lunation where we have, some ups and some downs, but overall just kind of like just ride the wave out with this. But I would pay attention though If you are one who happens to have a lot of like fixed placements, you may be noticing that this activates you more intimately because the moon, and I'm talking about Taurus, Scorpio, or Leo, because the moon's going to be forming squares, or in the case of Leo, in oppositions with all of your placements there. Personally, I don't mind the moon in Leo. That is a kind of an active time. It trines my moon, opposes all my Leo placements, and yeah, squares my midheaven, conjunct Saturn, so it's actually kind of busy. It's a little busy, but usually I'm just kind of talking away in some way, kind of tapping into that Aquarius energy, just kind of talk with just the strangers and whatnot. So, but yeah, those are just some things to just kind of pay attention to as we get into these energies. But let's move on over to the tarot here. But last thing here, these readings that I do, they're not gender specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situations. Now, I'm going to pull 6 cards and I'm going to get Oracle to start this thing off. And they're going to cover, we're just going to get kind of a general energy pull for this while the moon's in Aquarius. And normally I would get a clarifier if you had any changing lines from the I-Ching, but we got no changing lines. We're just staying fixed like Aquarius. So we're just going to pull the cards and just kind of go as we go. But let's go ahead and get into your first card, which is your general energy of the day. Get a feel for that. Consult the Oracle. Interesting. And that's quite an interesting contrast. But I like that. So you got the mouse spirit here, which is attend to the small things. And this may be a time where, like, this doesn't give me obviously like a big undertakings per se, but it's taking those small steps to get to those big wins. Okay, you have the vision with Aquarius. You want to accomplish maybe a certain financial achievement. Maybe you want to move to a certain place. Maybe you want to get a certain degree. Maybe you want to get this relationship. Whatever this thing is, it's taking the have the vision, but okay, then let's go ahead and break that down. What are some kind of steps that I'm doing? This gave me very kind of like Mercury and Virgo type of energy, where it's like almost like an eight of Pentacles sort of vibe, where we're just doing the work, we're doing the grind, the sort of like the work, the behind the scenes work that no one really sees. This is the practice before the concert. You know what I mean? And the hours that it takes to doing that, and the patience that it takes to do these things, and to keep going at them day to day. But it's like getting into the routine of that. You make these small little shifts, and whatever you're trying to achieve, you start to notice bigger and bigger results as your world starts to change. But I think that sometimes we want to get that big win, that we sleep on all of the small victories as well, because those small victories keep it to where we can support that bigger one, and that it doesn't feel so fleeting, so that we can extract the most out of that, so that we can do some more big things to, like, man, that's what I did all that work for that. Now let's do it again, and let's make that. Now I even got a better groove. I can refine this thing to even kind of shorten the time that it would have taken the first time that I did it. So, and it just like all of that repetition, all of that build up is what I think is like, it's almost like training the mind in a way, which I think is a great thing for like fixed signs to have those routines, get those things that are, because where life changes, of course, you can still have some consistency in how things change as well. There's still that underlying theme of you there. So that's the smell spirits game. Got a little chatty there. Ooh, a lot of energies are moving. But let's go ahead and get to your tarot here and get some more on this story. Okay, I guess we're getting both of these. So first off here, you got the Five of Wands. You know, the Five of Wands is a card of frustrations. It can be this sort of like tension point, this feeling that the will is under pressure. This is Saturn in Leo, which is Saturn in its detriment, but we're experiencing Saturn in its fall right now, which arguably is an even worse place than Saturn to be in its, because where in its opposite sign of Libra, or in the opposite sign of Libra, Saturn is most celebrated, but when it's in its fall, the planet planet feels trapped. The energies don't translate well because Aries likes to move unfettered. The will just in motion. And Saturn's like, no, there's rules to that. You can't just be, there's a way that, you have to be responsible with those energies. And there may be, just some conflict as far as like, maybe some endurance tests that are going on right now, something where maybe your mind, with it being in Aquarius, maybe the mind is feeling tested, the energy levels are feeling tested, maybe the emotions, maybe even the resources are being tested here. But this, with it being this Wands energy, it feels like that there's maybe even not just your energy feeling frustrated, but maybe there's some sort of competing energies that might be almost, I think, interfering in getting in, with you tending to the small things. And then it kind of gets you to your second card here, which is the Prince of Disc, maybe a need for patience. It's almost like that Prince of Disc like was rushing out of there. It's like trying to get out of that fire. And maybe that's something too. It's like maybe, life is still gonna try to life, when even while you're trying to build up these big visions. So it's like, how do you ground yourself in that, and keep that will going under the pressure, where you're getting things done, but you're not burning yourself out, and you're still feeling that sense of accomplishment. I'm even getting to, there's almost like a management that's needing to maybe happen here. Maybe if there's like other parties that are getting involved, or in some sort of interference that's happening, you taking some sort of like diplomatic role in this, or taking the kind of authority there. I was just thinking about looking at this 40, and if you reduce that, that's the number 4, that's Emperor energy. And there's kind of this taking charge. Even the background's got this red that was giving me that kind of Emperor vibe. But the Emperor doesn't have to be someone who's just all big and bad. It could be mouse spirit. And maybe it's coming in with like a grounded, but maybe a soft touch, something that's, maybe kind of explaining people. Maybe it's almost like maybe you're needing to help kind of walk people through their vision, being patient with just other people. That's something. Maybe you're managing others. That's an interesting little pocket that's come through there. So take that as that resonates. But there are going to be whatever things that we're doing. I think the Prince of Disc is, again, coming at this with being methodical about it. Just being realistic about that, whatever endeavor that you're taking, that it is going to take these small steps to get to these bigger wins. He's got like a whole agricultural chart. He's almost like my like almanac. Is what I think about with the Prince of Disc. There's a time and a season for certain things, and working within those seasons, you're understanding your kind of growing seasons, when the energies are really hot for you, and when things are maybe a little bit quieter for you. So that's interesting. Let's get another one on this, or maybe two. Oh, speaking of Saturn. So you got the World card here, and there's the vision. There's the view. There's the finish line. Whatever it is that you're wanting to do, and we might meet frustrations, but I think it's that it's getting better and improving as time goes on, and there's something I'm even getting about, because this is elemental Earth too, on top of representing Saturn. And I think that there's something there about really being kind of grounding yourself in the experience of it, and not just saying that we're just enjoying the toil of it, or the strain, but finding ways to even make it more pleasant. I think. If you have to, my thing kind of with Saturn, and this is where I sort of like talk with like kind of Capricorn and Aquarius energy. If things are going to take time anyway, then you might as well enjoy it. There's no rush in it, so you can really get detailed with what you're doing. I don't think that it's getting lost in the details, but I think that there's something like, okay, you have the vision, now don't stress about when you're going to get there. Just think about, just focus on the how. What do I need to do today? How can I make this thing? Oh, okay, I need to do this thing today. Oh, you know what? Maybe I need to take a break today so I can rebuild, kind of recharge my stuff to kind of go at this again. All of the fixed signs are in the world, and it takes perseverance to run a world. The fixed signs are where, they're the ones that have the most stamina of the zodiac, in the emotional, the mental, the will, the earth, all of that. So yeah, there's something I think to think about there. Let's go ahead and get another one on this. Got another little challenging card here. Got the five of cups here. And this is a very martial card. This is just could just be feeling just like maybe you've reached a point where things have really been just kind of dry, just been kind of testing. And now we're reaching to a point, do I want this thing? Like this is not even doing what it used to do for me. Maybe this is it. Maybe I need to give up on this thing and try something else. But it could be just maybe that it's needing to be revitalized in a way. Maybe something is needing some freshening up. How this card is looking really dry. This is a very martial card. This is Mars and Scorpio. Mars is associated with the number fives, and so this could be where maybe the passion for something is dried out because maybe the way we were doing it has gotten too comfortable. Maybe it's gotten a little stale, and now we're needing to bring some kind of fresh life into it. It's almost become mechanical, maybe in a way. There's maybe a need to feel like that's interesting. Maybe even feel like a novice again or something like that. This could be, for example, if you're playing music and you like to play a certain particular type of genre or jam, maybe this is switching it up. Let's say if you like to read music and you don't do a lot of improv, bam, do some improv, find the joy in there again, play, and same vice versa. Maybe it's like maybe getting some structure and finding a way to play around in that as well. If you're, that's just like a basic example, but I'm even getting something about there's some sort of like maybe distractions that are coming through with the Five of Cups. Something that used to maybe keep us feeling accomplished even when we weren't, when we were distracted. I'm not quite sure how to let's see. It's like those little things those little like maybe quick fixes that you would do to keep you from maybe doing the work or something like that, and then those things not quite doing like what they used to, where maybe you used to scroll on your phone to, just kind of distract yourself, and now you're finding yourself like not even really digesting what you're reading. It's just like now time is just like gone, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, what happened? I meant to do like a 2 minute scroll, and then 3 hours went by. I mean, just throwing out examples, but let's get some more on this. You got the Three of Wands here, and this is giving me just like as we're waiting on. It's like you've put your energy out there, and now we're waiting on. You put your intention out there, and now we're kind of waiting on the rewards to come back. And I think that this is not just like, like, okay, I did the thing and that's it. Like, no, this is like continuing to show up. Keep showing up like you've already, like maybe you've been waiting on some clients, or maybe you're waiting on that yes for the move or something like that. I'm not, it's interesting how this is coming through, but it's like just making sure to stay on that path, even in those times of doubt, those sort of like wait and see type of moments. If there's nothing that you can do anymore in a certain situation, then you're just like maybe focusing your energies somewhere else. Where if you've been maybe kind of like real heavy on like the career, maybe focus on the home space, or if you've been really focused on your finances, focus on like your friendships, or like it's just like however that may be translating in your world here. But and it's like integrating those like little small things every day. Again, there's some kind of there's power in the small things, and those sort of like mini routines and mini wins that you set up for yourself that keep more of the wins coming. That's what this energy is kind of giving me here. And it's like remembering to stay the course. Be in your place of exaltation in a way. This is, this one, even though it's kind of a tough card, this is still Mars at home, but this is the Sun in his exaltation here, and the Sun in Aries with this Three of Wands. And yeah, it's like remembering why you do something in the first place, even when we're going through those maybe kind of Five of Cups energies where we're feeling disappointed in the results or something along those lines. Keeping the purity of the task. But let's get your last card. Oh, another Saturnian sign. You got Capricorn here, got the Devil. And this to me is the time that it takes for whatever thing that is you're working on. But it's also to a test of the will, because even though, yes, the Devil can sometimes deal with maybe sort of like some kind of toxicity and things like that. And when you're trying to fight those impulses, those kind of like lust and things along those lines, it's those blind impulses, maybe with the Devil. That takes work, it takes those small steps and small things to tackle this stuff. And it's like lifelong work sometimes when you're thinking about those sort of things. But I think that this energy, it's, this Devil is getting stronger with time. The Devil isn't just there to just like bring you down, to just keep you in a rut. It's there to strengthen us. The Devil is the Lord of the gates of matter. The Devil is how we bring things into being. How you bring your universe into being. And I think it's just remembering that again. It takes time for those sort of things, and a patience and a perseverance that, even interestingly enough, Capricorn has, I think, quite a bit of that. And I think that's with that Saturnian influence. They could sometimes, I think they could be looked at as a fixed sign, but very, very interesting here. But I think this kind of ties in sort of nicely with your general energy, because let's go ahead, or with your advice from the I-Ching, let's go ahead and switch over a little bit. I'm using a bit of a different book. I left my other book. That's neither here nor there, but it's fine. But yeah, you got hexagram 28, and the translation from this book is Undertake the Great. And I really like this, and I like how the oracle for this is playing out there. So since we didn't get any change lines, we're just going to focus on that main line, which speaks of embarking on a great endeavor. The sage is independent and fearless, ever concerned for the world. Let the heart be stable and calm, no matter what conditions endeavor to challenge it. A fragile, unstable roof beam, a critical situation. Take the transformative path. It is a turning point in your life. And this, to me, this is the time for where, how I said it's like at the beginning, where it's keeping the great, and this is a great time to take on some great endeavors, but it is remembering that it takes those small steps to achieve those endeavors, and that you have to, that it's keeping your heart stable and keeping it still and keeping it, and no matter what conditions, endeavor to challenge it whenever Five of Wands just coming through, because there's always going to be something. But I think that we're really kind of at a critical situation really in the experience here. And actually, while I'm talking about that, Saturn and Jupiter are getting ready to form their square here. I think it's on the 15th. And this is going to be I think the work that we've been putting in and the work that we put in over this next year is really going to, by the time I think Jupiter moves into Leo, that's where we'll really see the work that you put in now, see some really big movement there. So I think that while we're at this place, this is a time, and let's go ahead and let's switch over here. This, I would say, is a great time for taking that transformative path, whatever that looks like for you. Taking that higher road, going for that next chapter in life. Aiming for the stars, because we're in a really kind of potent energy right now, and I think everyone's talking about it. So it's like, I don't think there's just any kind of coincidence with that. When you see those sort of things, work with them and look what's going on in your chart. I think that this could be, if you're not quite sure where that's looking like. Like for example, I got a lot of, Saturn getting ready to settle into my 9th house. I'm getting a taste of, we're all getting a taste of what that Saturn in Aries is going to be like over this next year once it settles in 2026. So, I've been doing a lot of just like doing a lot of education stuff, reading. I guess I just got a course not too long ago, and yeah, just doing a lot of those sort of things, working on just kind of just spiritual practices. So yeah, that's just for all, I'd say, for all Leo risings. Think about, this is a smooth time for Aries energy, for Aries rising, Sag. Well, maybe interesting, but though maybe a tricky one since Saturn's in your first house. But for Sag rising, Leo rising, that's some life questions, identity questions, but some big growth can come from that. For cardinal signs, this could be a little tension, but this is a great time to see where maybe there's some stagnation, or where you're ready to take on some bigger challenges. This could be for Cancer. Cancer is going to kind of get a glow up with Jupiter, but this could be for, like, we're talking about Capricorn, Libra, Aries. So yeah, got some interesting energies. A lot of activity that's going on there. So yeah, how do you want this journey to unfold? I really think we're getting a big invitation for that. So I think that's all I got for you there. So if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this if you know somebody who can get some nuggets of wisdom from this. If it wants to give you a thumbs up, there's a thumbs up that usually happens here sometimes. And oh, there we go. I'm just gonna sit here doing that. But also, if you want to, because what's going to happen is I'm going to be finishing up this lunar cycle, and I'm moving on to, and I got to release a separate video from that, but I'm going to be moving on more, just putting more of my focus into my main channel, Alchemist 8, and I'm going to take this lunar shenanigans and make it just a little video, a weekly video for the podcast, on top podcast, for the YouTube channel, as far as all the other things that I'm doing on there. So yeah, I'm really kind of putting more energy into that one, where I've enjoyed the Chariot Friends. I do. The Chariot Friends always has a little lovely place. I might come back and do some things with it every now and again. We'll see. But I am going to be posting a lot less on here for sure. So just kind of heads up there. So all my stuff will be happening on Alchemist 8, and sort of like updates. So if you haven't subscribed over there, come on over. It's a great old time. And I'm still going to talk about, once I'm done with this, that's where you'll get your lunar shenanigans. But I probably won't be doing any more tarot, just because my schedule is getting a lot busier. And so I've needed to just like make more time, where I still have an outlet for my creative endeavors and whatnots. But yeah, I think that's all I got for you there. Check that out. I do weekly videos, and I'm doing these planetary videos. There are different planets or different celestial bodies in different signs and different houses. I'm about to do Venus next. Venus in Scorpio in the 11th house. That's an interesting one. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep eyes on that moon. And I will catch you. Where am I going to catch you? On the next one. Ooh, that's going to be nice. Moon Day.